back, everybody, to Thanks for Your Concern. You're here with Berenice.
And I'm Ella. Welcome back. It's a beautiful day to be alive. We had amazing lightning storms in Seattle over the past couple days, which were really fun. But how you feeling? How you living?
I don't know, dude. It's a full moon today. It's like a blue super moon, and I sort of got like I'm affected by it. I don't know if I'm really like drinking the astrology Kool-Aid at this point, but like I don't know. I'm fully with it at this point. The horoscope, the star said like some shit is like changing because like these type of moons don't happen very often. And I'm just feeling so emotional today. I've been crying all day. And then this morning, I got, I just had a feeling something with my job was changing, developing, right? And yeah, this morning they switched me teams again. And I don't know if I just don't see this happen to a lot of people. But like for me, since I've gotten a job like out of college, I've been like switched teams, managers, whatever, probably like every year consistently for the past 5 years. And I'm tired and I really liked my boss. And I don't know, I think like it's the universe's way of like getting me out of my comfort zone because I feel like because I really like my boss, I was like really trying at my job and being like more passionate about my job. And maybe this is just a sign that's like, okay, girl, this is actually not your journey and you need to move forward. But like, I wasn't ready. You know what I mean? Like, I think this was worse than getting let go. Because getting let go is like, we don't want you in this company. But no, they're trying to keep me, but I just can't work with my boss?
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Hey, man. I don't know what it is, but I feel like that's just like companies. I just feel like they're not stable as they tell you. Like colleges tell you that like a corporate job is like stable, but I have the same thing. I've switched managers, the teams have switched up, and then it's like, oh, it's startup life, which I get, but yeah, it's happened at corporations too. Everything's just shifting,
Yeah.
moving, and changing, and not always for solid reasons. I don't know. They don't always make sense.
I mean, the reasons kind of make sense, but they don't make sense for my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they make sense for the company, they don't make sense for me anymore. So we'll see. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm feeling like it's just raw. You know when you're like pushed into the pool? I'm feeling pushed into the pool right now. And I don't
Oh
like
yeah.
it. And I'm gonna be a crybaby about it, like 100%. Like I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna swim, but like I'm not gonna be happy about it, you know?
Yeah, you're telling me, brother.
How are you? How you been?
Oh, I'm tired and it's like fucking Monday, dude. How is it possible? Like I had like a homework assignment from my therapist, which was relaxation. And honestly,
No.
I feel like I'm addicted to doing things. I don't like fucking like the relaxation. I'm like in a sound bath. Like I've been to two sound bath this week. So, okay, we're trying to spiritually mellow out, okay? So I'm in a sound bath and I'm just thinking like I think these waves are giving me more energy to go do things. Like in the sound bath I'm like, "Oh, this does feel like the frequencies are going to help me accomplish more things in the day." Like I was
Uh-huh.
just so excited to come out so that I could go do stuff. So that's all fun and good, but I'm really tired today for no fucking reason because it's a Monday. Actually, I know why I'm tired. I didn't get good sleep last night. I had a crazy dream about reparations, and I'm not going to go too far into it, but it was fucking insane. And so that's what my subconscious does in its sleep. It was like I was solving a mystery relating to slavery and reparations, and I woke up in a panic like 8 times through the night. So that's why I'm not doing so good
That's dark.
today.
That's deep. That's a lot.
I don't know, bro. I literally sometimes I feel crazy because I'm like, what a wild dream I just had. And then I had this teacher in 10th grade who was like, your dreams mean everything, dude. It's your subconscious working things out. And I was like,
You got some things in there to work out. It's also a sign of the full moon. That's all I'm saying. Is it goes along with the
there you go.
Kool-Aid, the astrology girlies.
There's
Okay?
also like there's like 8 planets in retrograde right
There's
now or
some
something.
retrogrades. Yeah,
Yeah, there's like
Mercury's back in Satan's pussy.
It's all over the place. All right, you guys.
Yeah.
I actually have a very excited about this episode. I'm
Uh-huh.
excited. So we're
Yeah.
going to talk about now that our frontal lobes are fully developed, how our perception on things have changed. It'll be like a fun, but like you know how we do. We keep it fun, but it's serious at the same time. It's serious, isn't it?
Serious. Yeah.
You
Okay, let's
ready?
get it.
Thanks for your concern. Okay, so technically your frontal lobe doesn't develop fully until you're 25. It like varies. For men it's never sometimes. No, just joking. But
I think it's like 27, 28, no? For
yeah,
men?
but
It's a
it
little
is
later.
yeah, it does develop a little later in men. But I just thought about it was funny about when your frontal lobe developed, like how things change. And what actually made me think about this is I went to a movie called Dee. It's basically about like a Taiwanese coming of age story, kind of like
Okay.
being raised in an immigrant household. It's really beautiful. It's the directorial debut of Sean Wang, and he must be literally our age because it's set in 2008 and the boys like in the summer between 8th and ninth grade. And so
Oh.
yeah, that's like right when I was in 8th grade, 9th grade. And it talks about he had like MySpace and AIM. The movie was so good, so I 10 out of 10 recommend. But it was funny watching this stuff now that my lobe is frontal like fully developed and seeing like the turmoil that's a young 15-year-old boy was going through. And I was like, oh my god, I remember when I was like tripping over which emoji to send on AIM, like is it a smiley face? Should I do a licky face? Like what should I do? So we're just talking about emotional attachment, spirituality, friendships, everything that comes when your frontal lobe's developed.
Frontal lobes developing is kind of crazy because you just wake up one day and things just are a little different.
You're different, the people around you are different.
And I guess it's been developing, so you have smaller realizations, but I swear to God, there's just like one day when you're just like, everything starts clicking.
Yes.
A little different than the rest of the days. I think once my frontal lobe developed, time started to move faster. Thoughts?
I feel like time's technically moving faster in a logarithmic sense. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, 1 year becomes such a little slice of time of your life, you know? Because when you're 10
Yeah.
years old, 1 year, that's a fucking tenth of your life so far. Versus 30, it's just like 1/30th. Like, it's just a blip.
Do you think that's what it is?
I don't know. That's my
Quantum physics.
that's just my hypothesis is that time does go quicker because you've just experienced more life. So when
More
you think
life.
about like how long a year is, it's like, oh, I've done 30 of these. It doesn't seem like that long.
You
Also,
know, that math.
also when you don't have a summer to break up your years, oh, I want a summer back, baby. Why don't
The
we I
worst.
want fucking 12 weeks off of my corporate job, dude.
You know, the teachers, the people that decided to be teachers in college, at first I didn't get it. And now I'm kind of jealous and I kind of have regrets. I'm like, they kind of really thought ahead. Like they were ahead of the curve. They were like, I want summers off. It's never too late to get a master's.
Yeah, right. Sometimes I think about
Never
doing
too late.
that.
Never too late.
Never too late.
Never too late. Along with time, at least for me, life feels a little bit more calm. There aren't as many like impulse driven choices in this brain anymore. Before, I used to like want it, did it. You know, seems like a good idea, done it. You want to get a tattoo? Yeah. You want to go to that party? Uh huh. Oh, you should. You want to fuck around and find out with that guy that's probably not good for you? Yeah. Yeah. Now there's like at least a 10-second like actual thinking period before I make a choice.
Yeah, 100%. I think that before my like frontal lobe developed when it came to like I feel like I felt like I was invincible like Superman. Like it didn't really matter what I
Yeah.
did because I was going to survive it, like physically. And I feel like you grow up, you find out, life actually can be a little fickle, so you shouldn't put yourself in objectively dangerous situations. We're going to protect our human vessel.
That went along with the mosh pits. I had to retire from the mosh pits, even though I
Mm.
did jump into one this weekend. I'm not gonna lie, but it was a girl mosh pit, so the vibes just seemed different. It seemed more safe. The risk factor, I did think about it. I didn't just throw myself in there. I was like, I thought about it. I gave my friends my bag and my belongings. I made sure my shoes were tied. You know, like
Yeah, I mean, honestly, DJ Diesel or Shaq,
yeah,
Shaquille O'Neal, the DJ,
yeah.
he had an all girl mosh pit. That was fucking vibes, dude. But yeah, the moshing,
Reckless choices, just getting in randos' cars. Couldn't be me. Actually, I had an
running in high
experience like that.
heels,
Yeah, no, I had an experience like that recently where my stranger danger went up. And
hmm
yeah, like a friend's friend offered me a ride. But like I was pretty sauced at the time and something wasn't giving me safety. And then I was like to my friend, I was like, "You want to sleep over today?" And I was like, "Oh, can you give us both a ride?" And then he sent us in an Uber. And I was like, "Interesting. Interesting."
Hmm.
So, you know what I mean? Like instincts are a go.
Yeah, it's not as trusting
No.
of just not as trusting.
I don't know if it's like trusting. I think it's more just like critical thinking a little bit faster, isn't
I
it?
don't know. Mine's a little bit of trust. I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
I think it is. I used to not really. Maybe it isn't trust as much as I did not analyze whether someone was like a safe person. I just kind of was like, oh yeah, everyone's a safe person until they prove otherwise. But I don't think I function on that level. I think my baseline is like prove that you're a safe person instead of assuming someone's a safe person.
Oh. No, with rides, always stranger danger. I've always been a
Mm-hmm.
little iffy, but now it's more of a vibe. And I don't know if it's more like with the frontal lobe developing, I'm just like more sure of my instincts. Like if something isn't mathing or if something feels a certain way, I'm way more intuitive to be like, let's trust what we know.
You have more experiences, more data points to like be like, oh no, 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 no. Okay, actually, I'm confident that I know what I know, and also,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's something is that like I feel more confident in decision making, not just even with safety, but just in general. Like I feel like now that my frontal lobes developed, I feel because I used to always make my own decisions. You know, it's not like I was asking people for advice, but I kind of knew that I possibly wasn't making a good decision. You know what I'm saying? Like at 20 and
Yeah.
21, I was like, let's change our major. Let's hope for the best. But now I'm like, you know what? Actually, girl, you did think that one out. You are making a good choice. I'm more confident in my choices.
Me too. Way more assertive and just like I don't know, more set in my ways. I guess in a way, I'm set in my personality. I think I'm more authentic and I question myself a lot less than I used to. I think that does come with age in the frontal. I don't know if that's super the frontal lobe developing. Could be. Or just the experience that you learn through time and you truly get to know yourself, which is kind of a beautiful thing when you know exactly who you are. You know what I mean? There's like, oh, I've done that one before. It wasn't a good idea. The ending was actually really shitty. Let's not repeat that one.
I don't know what artist said that, but said something like this, which she was like, also comfortable not knowing. You know what I'm saying? I honestly like, are you ever gonna know yourself if you're a person that's ever always gonna change and grow? I feel like I don't need to. I think with my frontal lobe developing, I'm less interested in like boxing myself or other people in.
How so?
I think I like categories and I like everything being in a
Oh,
category. I like friend, I like lover, I like
yeah. You
this friend group,
compartmentalize
that
things a
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
And so if I'm compartmentalizing people, just like, for whatever, like this person does like is even in ways that are like not like are innocuous or not bad, like my base stage people, my like trance stage people, like when you like think about your like festival group and you like are like, who am I gonna go see what set with, and you kind of like box people in because you know that they like that music. I'm like more comfortable with not having to do that anymore, not boxing myself in. Like I don't need to be defined as like, or what does an artist look like. It's like, well, I don't really need to define that. If I feel like an artist and I'm doing art, that's okay.
Got you. Okay, that's maybe like a judgment. You're
Yes.
less judgmental on yourself and others.
Mhm.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
I think maybe I'm more judgmental in myself and others. No, I have my moments. There's a balance. Like I feel like with your frontal lobe developing, I think it gains something that you were not necessarily like born with or like first instinct. So some people's like I feel like it balances out. So maybe I think that's like a good middle where I feel like I was very like open minded and blah blah blah, and now it's just like closed down just like a little bit, but not in a bad way, in like a way that's like gained through experience and and followed by instinct.
Ooh, gain through for experience followed by instinct. TM trademark. We got.
That's all from here. um,
I would say something that I feel like when my frontal lobe developed, I was able to absorb uncomfortable ideas more. You know what I'm saying? And open to uncomfortable ideas. I kind of this is like a hee hee ha ha, but okay, I'll just say it anyways. Are you familiar with the book? It's called The Children of Immature Adults.
no.
Okay, so it's called like the children of emotionally immature adults or some shit like that, right? I think I was
Okay.
like kind of uncomfortable with like buying this book and reading this book. It made me feel bad because it was like an uncomfortable idea. But I like gained something from it, right? And the same thing where like it's an uncomfortable idea that like I might be the problem, but you might need to sit with that uncomfy feeling and work through it. I think before you kind of like before I don't know if this is just like age or whatever, but I do think there's something with uncomfortable ideas can be really like distressing. Uh
Mm.
and another uncomfortable idea that I was thinking about today is like the way the world should be versus the way the world is. Like that's an uncomfortable idea because it's like the world should be a certain way. Like you should be able to do whatever you want without judgment, or you should be able to like live whatever life you want to despite capitalism. But then there is the world we live in, and I think that's another uncomfortable idea that doesn't cause as much distress now that my frontal lobe is developed because it just is what it is, baby.
It is what it is. But you really have to like be open to explore that. I mean, some people don't know that like I think most people get in their own way, myself included. And to be like, oh yeah, I do get in my own way, and how do I get in my own way? It's also a frontal lobe developing tactic
Yeah,
that
because
you
I think it's like
yeah.
a I think I think there's some protection of youth, you know, where you're like, and also where I honestly I was probably the worst about this is like at 18 you could not tell me fucking shit. I thought I literally knew all that needed to be known,
Yeah.
and I was the smartest fucking person on the planet. And now I know that like
That
actually it doesn't
yeah.
matter. It doesn't matter how smart you think you are. Like that's not how life works, babes. It doesn't matter how smart you are.
I would say that's like a solid 18 to 25. Like
Yeah.
pre-frontal lobe developing, you actually think you know what's going on, and you
Yep.
don't.
You
You
don't.
don't.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Once the frontal lobe developed, there were so many apologies I had to like send to people based on my behavior where I was like, damn, I was really a little shit. Like, because I just like thought I knew what I was doing and like no one could tell me otherwise. And I'm like, I actually didn't know what I was doing, handling situations horribly and just owning it. Like that's crazy.
I mean, that's so good. I think I probably need to go back. I think I probably need to apologize to my mom and dad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was so fucking stubborn at 18, but I think that's just like part of growing up, right? Like that's prefrontal
Yeah.
lobe. Everyone's stubborn.
Everybody is stubborn. It's like the way that I think that's like the critical age where you're like making mistakes and learning from your experiences, but you have to make enough of them to form like an actual judgment based on them. So sometimes when like I see this a lot with people who are relationships and they're younger with like older people or just like they kind of like age themselves, right? And I'm like, ugh, I really wish like my wish for you is to be as stupid as you possibly can at your age. Be free. make mistakes at 19 because like that's the age where like you learn as you go and you're 19 and it's cute. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But then people get out of like these long-term relationships at like 27, 28, and they're trying to act like 19-year-olds. And I'm like, it's just not the same, babes. Like it's just not hitting the same. You're pushing 30 and you're acting nuts.
There's no right way to go about life, but
No.
I definitely think this is like a consistent pattern where people are in really serious relationships young and then they get out of it and then they want to like do this like I don't even know, but I have had situations where I kind of like I'm like, "Oh man, girl, you're getting out of this relationship for the wrong reasons." It's or not the wrong reasons, but like you're getting out of this relationship cuz you want to like be fun, crazy 19, but like let me tell you, after a little bit, you're gonna not want to do that anymore. Because I think so often they're like, "Dude, I'm 28. Why am I fucking doing this shit?" And I'm like, "Girl, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you why you're doing this shit.
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
Like, I don't know why you're doing this to you." Or it's like, "Oh my god, like I hate this." I'm like, "Yeah, I could have told you that. This sucks."
Yeah.
It's a
Some
fun phase when you're 19 and it doesn't fucking matter, but when you're 28 and you like have a life
and real
and real
responsibilities.
responsibilities, yeah.
Yeah, I would say the frontal lobe developing, another one of those is just like the stakes just seem higher at this point. You know what I mean? Like I can't be financially reckless anymore. There needs to be a plan. There just has to be. Um it, you got to figure it out. Like there's no adults coming to save me. I'm the adult. Fuck.
Yes. I mean, yes, definitely like even like we're the adults too. I think I mean this is kind of like I sometimes just like out in my community or like watching other people parent, I'm like, "Oh my god, I cannot believe like we're the grown-ups." Like, like what happened the other day that I was like, "Holy shit, why the fuck would you say that?" Oh, I just had like a dad and he was just like explaining something to his kid in the craziest way possible and like low key fucking traumatizing. And I just literally was just sitting on the and this is like at a fucking coffee shop and I was like, why are you explaining to them death like this? Like this is the craziest way you could have like jumped for it. And then I was like, you know what? He's learning as he goes. That's just what parenting is. There's you get put on the spot about death with your 3-year-old and then you end up traumatizing them. But it's like this guy, I looked at him and he's literally my age. And I'm like, that's crazy that we're parenting, we're the adults.
Yeah. We're at that age. We're at the age where we can do that, allegedly. Along with some other frontal lobe developing things, I would say like I've become very spiritual. in I don't know what it is where like you get older and maybe you just need to believe in something. There needs to be like a purpose, a reason, like something to get you through experiences. Like sometimes you just do, because things get tough sometimes. And I think spirituality, or like if you're religious, that's when like that really comes into play. It's became more important to me as I got older. But like some of my main lessons when shit hit the fan, my favorite is like rejection is redirection. No, because really like spirituality really is about perspective, to be honest.
Yes.
Like I think those are just very tied together. If you're like spiritual and you believe everything's gonna like be okay, that's also just like positive outlook on life. Like that's perspective.
It's a big wide world and crazy things happen. I think something I guess when something that I have thought about is like the world actually doesn't revolve around me, but my world does. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's this huge wide world and I think like there's something really funny that happens when you have like a very traumatic life event, like, your grandma dies, and then you just go out into the street and everyone's just walking around. No one gives a fuck, even though you're having like the worst day, and to just realize that like damn the world is so much bigger, but then again it's you still have to make you the center of your own universe, and like you get to make all the choices in your life. Like there's no one else making these choices, like you're making the choices, but no one around you is gonna like random people don't care what you're doing, so you can do whatever the fuck you want. You have the power and the ability to do for free will. That's crazy.
That is crazy. I don't think I still have challenges with that. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do whatever I want today. Like I could try to change careers today if I really wanted to. I can do whatever I want. I'm an adult.
You really can. I mean, you're not ask. I guess like the part where you don't have to ask anyone's permission. I guess, and but like when how that kind of connects to spirituality is like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if I'm more or less spiritual. I feel like in some aspects I'm more spiritual, as in like there's got to be something bigger than I, like some bigger force than to be. But then also like you can't like wait for the universe to tell you what to do. You don't have to like
Yeah.
wait for the universe for answers. Like you got to go out and make the change you want to see.
Yeah, and I think like that's what's daunting sometimes, that it's like, oh, nothing is going to happen unless I make it happen. I do believe that like things are always working around you, and in that sense, like I'm spiritual, where I'm like, oh, like the universe is working for me. I don't really have to worry about it. And like, you know what I mean? Like today, when that thing with my job happened, I'm like, this is a decision that was already taken for me probably last week.
Yep.
There was nothing I could have done about it. It's just kind of
Mm-mm.
like the way that the flow is right now, and I gotta respect the flow.
That's it. What else? Respect the flow, baby.
Along with respecting the flow, I think when it came to emotions and attachments, this probably been like the biggest area of growth when my frontal lobe fully developed. I just became so much more aware of my patterns of behavior and how they were related to my trauma growing up. You know what I mean? Like, if you really sit and like unpack your stuff, everything is related to like your childhood trauma, the way you relate to others, the way you're attached to others, the way you are in relationships, the way you problem solve, literally everything.
Yeah, I also think that that relates to like how I view other people is that like, everyone
Mm-hmm.
is as complex of a human being as I am, and taking that into account when you're thinking about like why would this person do this to me? It's like, girl, you have no idea and you're not their fucking therapist, so don't even try to unpack it. Like just know that it doesn't have to do with you and all you can do is control how you're going to respond. And I don't know, I felt like I could really like change people in a way, but that you can't change people. That's all in their hands.
That's very true. And it has made it a lot easier for me to be forgiving, because I feel like I used to hold more grudges, but now I'm like, oh, they're just like really navigating from like a different place, like of
Mm,
things that they have experienced and things they haven't like grown from. And I think we've talked a lot about like people can only give you like the extent of their love and their attention and their understanding with how much they like understand, love, and everything like about themselves, right? So in that aspect, I think it has allowed me to take things less personal. Like they're not really like doing this to me to like hurt me, to like be vicious, you know what I mean? Where I feel like that's what used to be the sentiment. Like I can't believe they would do this to me. Like
yeah.
they're doing it to themselves. It's just like that's who they are right now in their lives, and I can't necessarily expect them to meet me where I am, unfortunately. So that has taught me a lot about other people as well. But with
Yeah.
that understanding also coming, your own boundaries and what you're willing to take and not.
Yeah, no, honestly, where you were saying like not everyone can meet you where you're at. Honestly, me figuring out where, like, I guess being self-aware enough to see where other people are at and if I'm there yet. And, sometimes I'm not always ahead, I just mean, and reflecting on that because I
Yeah.
wish, now that I have a full frontal lobe, I was just asking things of people that just I don't think was in there possible for them at the time, And if I had seen where they were at, I could have just like been like, you know what? We're just not aligning. And they want to be where I'm at. And that's where I think I've had the most trouble in relationships is like when someone is like really trying to meet you where you're at, but they're just not. And then vice versa, where it's like, I really want to meet somewhere where they're at, but I just can't because I'm not there in my life right now. And that's why, like, this is kind of separate, but like, I've totally changed my perspective on age gap relationships, like, now that I have my full frontal lobe. But so many of those relationships, I just think about, I'm like, man, we were just not in the same place. And I was unable to like recognize that.
Yeah. And that's tough because that comes down to also attachments. And I think that that has been more of a learning lesson for me this year. Ella and I do have like a 2 year difference, so there is a little bit of a gap
Yeah.
of things you know about your life and yourself that I don't, that I'm still finding out. But I do agree with you. I think that I hadn't necessarily also thought about that until recently, where I was put in a situation where, like, I know I can't meet you there. I'm gonna tell you right now, at the beginning, at -0, I'm not there. Like, I compared to your mind, my mind, all over the place. You should actually run, and I'm telling you that just very candidly. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's like a tough thing, but I mean, even on like a basic level, like if someone wants kids, wants to get married, and that's not where you're at, okay, that's like on a basic level. Like there's also levels of like, damn, this person cannot communicate to me in the way that I like to be communicated to, and that one's like a little bit more nuanced. But then there's people where it's like, like, dang, they have a 5-year plan and it is so unaligned to my 5-year plan, and like instead of trying to align ourselves, I should just like find a new person. And same thing with friendships where it's like they like spending money a certain way or going out a certain way and I just can't meet them there right now. It's like not a judgment on either of where we're at. It's just that we're not compatible.
That one has been a big lesson for me, and also specifically all tied together in attachments, because sometimes I'll get attached to people that I'm not compatible with. And in my track record, I have never been able to like completely dissolve the attachments in order to like be friends. And that's something that I have been trying to work at, because I sometimes I feel like I am based, like my attraction to people is actually based on my like emotional unavailability. And I'm like, I really even like this person like that, or is it just like something in me that I, it's like reactive, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to unlearn that, and I think it's gotten better with age, where I'm able to like forgive instances that maybe weren't about myself, or things that may have triggered me that wasn't even necessarily about that person, and to redirect that into friendship. But I don't think I've ever been mature enough to do that until now.
You know what? Honestly, that's a tough thing. I don't think I can. I actually have been very upfront with people about like we're never gonna be friends. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just because I don't think I can. I don't think I at the time, and now I don't think it's. Yeah, I still don't think I'm at there yet where I feel like I can change. I'm being honest, but I'm being real. Like if it's ever not been a friend level, I feel like it's never gonna be a friend level, and that's just me.
I'm trying to battle with that, because it turns out for me, like out of sight, out of mind only works until you see them again.
Oh yeah.
So what about if I just said the opposite? In sight, in mind, conquer your demons, get over it. And honestly, it's been kind of working.
Okay,
It's been kind
insight
of
in
working.
mind.
See it through. I never understood this. And you know what? The first person who ever told me this about like a situation where I was like, this person just like, something about it just keeps bugging me, but I'm like trying to avoid this person. And they're like, well, why don't you just find out? And I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, why don't you just go find out the answers that you need to get, or like why this isn't mathing, and then you will know the answer. And like I didn't, but when he told me this, I was 24 and he was 33, right? So the math didn't math, but now the math kind of maths, because the longer I find out through a situation, and that's like not saying like let me like go back into a toxic cycle, as in let me follow through as to why the situation wouldn't play out in a way that like I'm not dishonoring my boundaries. Like, okay, I'm gonna try to be friends with this person, and the more I actually got to know that person, I'm like, oh, I actually don't like this person or see myself compatible with this person, and something clicks.
I sometimes that's why I tell people, no, 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 go for it. Get back with your ex. Whatever you need to do, dude. If you think that's really like where you need to be, don't let me stop you. Cause I don't fucking know. Maybe you do need to break up with him for the 6th or 10th time. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he does need to dog you for an 11th time for you to figure it out. Maybe you should see it through.
Don't go
Okay.
that far. Don't go that far.
I don't know.
See it through in the way that like, no, for me are just other situations where like they didn't even get to be in that level of like deep. I think if you have a shitty ex-boyfriend and they keep doing shitty shit, you should probably cut that, because the only thing that you're gonna find out is they're gonna keep doing shitty shit to you.
So, what I think what you're talking about is what reminds me of Millionaire Matchmaker. She's a terrible person. Don't recommend. But she said keep going on dates until it's a no.
Yeah, until you like see it through. You know what I
Until
mean?
you like if you're like kind of lukewarm about somebody, you're like, I don't know, da da da. Maybe they're just awkward getting to know someone. So like until you get a no, like you should keep doing it. So, until if you're still a maybe because you don't know how something's gonna play out, keep going until it's a no and you know that it's like
Yeah.
done deal.
Don't get treated like shit. As in, stand on your boundaries, honor yourself, but like you want to find something out, like find it out in a way that's like not destructive to yourself.
Yeah, I also think that sometimes when people like are like, "Oh, like I don't know, I don't know if I should date my friend." I'm like,
Don't do it.
"Well, I think you shouldn't do it." But sometimes I'm like, "Do you actually like your friend, or like now is it just like the thing that you guys can't be together?"
I think if you're gonna date I think some people like the friends to lovers thing is cute, but I think that it should be done tactically and not out of like loneliness. You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
you
you will ruin the friend group, but I'm just saying, if you want to go there,
You
no, I'm
know
joking.
what? That actually for me has helped, because now I'm like I choose the friend group. Like I've learned way too many times that like I shall not choose the person. I should choose the friend group.
I
And that
agree.
has kept me really accountable, where I was like, "Oh, I'd rather be friends with all these people than have like something kind of messy that I know won't work with one person."
Hell yeah, I agree.
I have learned a lot about what I need in friendships as my frontal lobe has developed and how to communicate that. And I think that that has set me free, because sometimes in friendships, I feel like I would get so emotionally invested and feel like my energy wasn't being reciprocated. But I also never necessarily voiced what like my needs and wants were in a relationship slash friendships until now, where I'm like, okay, this is kind of like what I expect from a friend. You know what I mean? And like setting boundaries and all those things in friendships that I feel like when you're younger, that is so unheard of.
Hmm.
There's so many friendships that I think I could have salvaged had I known how to state my boundaries and communicated them.
I think about instances where I just like really should have said something. I think that in
Yeah.
a lot of situations where it's like, I think it, like when your frontal lobe develops, I think you feel, again, we talked about like being more confident, but I feel like I'm more confident in my boundaries and I'm more confident speaking up. And I feel the same way where I could have salvaged friendships if I had spoken up.
Yeah, truly. There was like no conflict resolution in that one because I wanted to avoid conflict to save my life. And I think that there's a misconception about setting boundaries and having it be conflict. And maybe that's just because I grew up with people who didn't understand boundaries and therefore it was conflict. But those are two different things. But those are two
Yeah.
very different things. And I think that the earlier you learn how to set boundaries, the better it is in friendships. And then people are fully on the same page of like, hey, like cause and effect, right? I asked you not to do this, you did it, therefore there are consequences. And that means we maybe are not as close for a good amount of time until you kind of learn that lesson.
It's like a practice, so it's like it
Yeah.
becomes less of a big deal the more consistently because it's like if you don't say anything like the if you don't say if someone does something that really bothers you and you don't say something 15 times, you've now kind of like reinforced that behavior is okay. So now the 16th time you've said it, it becomes harder. uh that's what it's been in my experience where it's like, oh, I just didn't want to speak up because it's like, like now it's too late to say something, or what have you. So it's like now that I'm older and I'm starting new friendships and like new things, now it's easier to do boundaries from the beginning than it is to wait until I kind of freak out or flip out, because I know I've only told you about something one time, but you've done it like 20.
I agree. I think like that's where I've been also with roommates, where I'm like, let me address things head on as they happen, and I can try to navigate it, just so you know that like hey, I've consistently told you this is an issue. I've consistently tried to work with you. What does this look like for us living together? Because obviously I'm trying to voice something. And when you don't voice anything at all, I actually don't know that it's an issue until I have an issue. And now you're giving me an issue. But it hadn't been an issue until I brought something else up. So for me, right, that's like, okay, then we're clearly not compatible. What's our vibe? What's our move here? And I think like those are high stakes. Roommates are high stakes. But I'm like, I think I've voiced like 13,000 times and I'm unhappy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, this is applicable to any relationship, right? Is that
Yeah.
if you don't speak up, then people don't know. You know,
Hmm.
unspoken, what is the fucking term? I guess like unspoken boundaries or unspoken expectations are always gonna falter. You can't if you have imaginary expectations for somebody, they're never gonna be able to meet you there because they have no idea. So you're always gonna be disappointed.
And some people don't understand how they set expectations. Sometimes I think like in dating, this has become a thing where like I no longer with the frontal lobe, I don't no longer go into like first dates or even second dates with expectations. I'm just like, I'm just here to get to know you. You know what I mean? You're a new person.
Hmm.
Let's see how the vibe goes. But then comes if you say you're gonna like call on a certain day or you're gonna plan something, then that's an expectation you're creating for yourself, right? Like I didn't make that one up.
Right. Hmm.
You made that one. And sometimes I think you got to reflect on the expectations that you're setting up for others in you.
Oh, for sure. Actually, I think that's like some great advice is that don't set an expectation for yourself unless you want to follow through.
Yeah. I think that's big because a lot of people will talk to talk like out of interest and but they won't actually follow through. This is like why I think I don't bail out of many situations, especially ones that like if I'm a little tipsy and I say I'll be there, the next day you bet, regardless of how hungover, how much I don't want to go, I'm gonna be there because I think that's just like accountability and the expectations that you're setting yourself for others and how you speak on who you are to others. Not saying I'm perfect, I'm not, and sometimes I really can't follow through and I should be better, but that's something that I've been reflecting on. It's like, oh, I've literally put this expectations on myself.
I would say I think that's something else with my frontal lobe is the relationship I have with like my inner being. Like and as it comes to like setting expectations for myself, like I can't set myself up to fail. I can't be ridiculous with demands that are going to be impossible to meet. Like
Yeah.
treating myself as like an actual entity instead of just like I don't know. I think I've sometimes have like just like treated myself with these really high expectations or not really like being realistic because it is me. But it's like, okay, if I would never assign like a someone I manage a long list of things that they need to get done today because I know it's unrealistic. Like I have to have the same expectations for myself as other people. I have to treat myself better than I would treat other people. I sometimes like mistreat myself and I feel like as I my frontal lobe has developed, I've seen how the cause and effect of that and really taking care and like making sure I'm treating myself well in every aspect of my life.
Yeah. I think the overarching theme with the frontal lobe developing, honestly, is reflection. It is a lot of reflection of like sitting with like your life experiences and patterns of behavior and being like, hmm, that's interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, ultimately, I think that for me, the connections are kind of everywhere if you really sit and think about it for a second. And maybe the frontal lobe developing is that extra second of reflection where you can connect the dots in your own life and see the places where maybe you want to improve something based on things like you want to do. Like I think for me, healing certain aspects of myself has been so I can, next time I'm in a relationship, I handle it severely different than I have in the past. You know what I mean? I react differently than I have in the past just based on kind of my trials and errors.
Trials and tribulations, baby. Figuring it out as we go along. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. Let us know what's happened since your frontal lobe has developed. What things have
Yeah.
you come to recently as being a full fledged adult? You can talk to us on social. You can talk to us. You can find us on social media at thanks number 4 your concern. I'm at LL Tutor.
I'm at Bernice Diaz M.
We love ya. Make sure to rate, leave a review, tell a friend. It helps us out a lot. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.